Hello everybody, today I wanted to show off a deck that's been pretty cool to use, and it's really fast and it's really fun to play with. It's an Armor Rush deck, and if you haven't played on an Armor Rush deck, it's like Rookie Rush but evolved, which is kind of fun to think about. So essentially this deck tries to take advantage of two new mechanics to the game, one of those being armor release, which if your Digimon is about to die and it has armor, you can actually just release the armor and go back to rookie level and survive. And DNA Digivolution is the other one. This is not heavy on the DNA Digivolution, but we try to use it as a punch for game essentially, and I'll talk about that as I get to it. For now, know that this is based on Veemons, so the Veemon line will be heavily featured on here. There's a lot of Veemons, and all of those will pop up. So we start off with 4 Upamons. That drop power is huge. There's not going to be a whole lot of jamming, so the jamming Demi Veemon will not be a big part of this. I do still include one just because it doesn't hurt. But you want to ideally draw cards with the Upamon if your opponent is not having a lot of Digimons that have no sources under them. Next, this deck does run 4 jamming Veemon. It is going to be swinging a lot, and having the jamming capacity is pretty strong. Jamming, if you're not aware, means that you can check into security, and if the card that's in security is stronger, your Digimon will not die. So Veemon checking into stronger Digimon in security will still stick around, and that's huge, right? So Veemon is, with the jamming, is one of the very good cards that we want to have a 4 of in this deck. Next, I run 3 of the new starter deck Veemon, so it reveals 3 cards of your deck and add a free form. You're essentially just gonna draw a Veemon or an armor with this one if you come across one in the search. It's pretty good. You don't really need a whole lot other than that. There's no inherited with it, but it's just helping you to gather your pieces. Next, I run the Veemon from BT2, which is a draw 1 when unsuspending. You don't unsuspend a whole lot here in this deck, but it is nice to have that option available to you to be able to draw one as you unsuspend. Sometimes you need that. Sometimes you're looking for that card. Perhaps an extra card is the key to your victory in some situations, and you're going to be swinging a lot anyway, so sometimes drawing the right cards is better than having the memory for it, especially since we make some things very cheap in this. Next, the BT8 Veemon. It searches for, looks up to 4 cards, and you get to add 1 2-color blue card. Now, this means you can actually draw something like Megadeth or the Tamers. It does not say Digimon. You can actually just draw any card that's 2-colored and has a blue in it. So that card can also help you search for your pieces. All of these are helping you search for pieces to put your combo together. Next, we have the Veemon that gains 1 when unsuspending. It's not a huge part of this. Unsuspending is not going to be happening that much where you need, and when it does, it's not going to be a situation where you need the memory a whole lot. So we run 2, and together all of these Veemons are, all of our level 3s that we're going to be running on here. Next, 4 Lydramons, aka Raidramon armor. They digivolve from 2 for 2 on top of a Veemon, and that includes in raising in the hatching area. If you're digivolving on top of a Veemon, it still costs 2. It has the armor purge. If you are checking into something that's stronger, all you do is you chuck the armor goes away, and the Veemon is still alive, obviously resting because it just attacked, but the armor is a pretty big mechanic that you want to take advantage of. And in addition to that, when Digivolving, you can suspend one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. That can help you destroy something that's pretty small or something pesky. Perhaps there's some sort of memory blocker or some Digimon that's small that you can just get rid of while Digivolving without having to spend an attack into security so that you might die. Next, Flamedramon, same situation, digivolves for 2 on top of Veemon. It has armor purge. It's half red, half blue. And when attacking, this Digimon gains plus 3000. There's no limit on that, so theoretically, if you're attacking multiple times with this Flamedramon, it could actually gain 3,000 more. If you go Flame Dramon to Flame Dramon in an armor, for example, change, you could potentially stack that 3,000 DP on top of another 3,000 DP. And Flame Dramon is a very cool card. Part of it, same DP, another armor for Veeing to put on. And last but not least, our last armor is Magnamon, the last of the armors. This one actually unsuspends when digivolving, so this is one that if it's on top of this Veeing or on top of this Veeing, you either draw a card or gain one memory. It's also the blocker for this deck. If you need a blocker, Magnamon is the one to do it. It digivolves for 3 on top of Veeing. It's a little bit more expensive, but it also has this really nice ability of unsuspension, as well as gaining memory for each of your armor in the trash. So if you have, for example, 2 Flame Dramons in the trash, Magnamon gains 2,000 for each one that's in there, so we're getting plus 4,000. And now you have a Magnamon that blocks and or could check for 11. So Magnamon is a big deal in this deck. It stands back up, and it's a very, very useful card in this situation. Next, I run 2 Halcyon, another armor. This one doesn't digivolve for cheaper. This one would straight up digivolve for 3 on top of Veeing. And when attacking it deletes your opponent's level 3 Digimon. So if there's again another pesky little Digimon in your way, Halcyon can get rid of it while chucking its armor if it need be on security. Next, I run one of the Lobomons. We're going to be running some Tamers in here. Lobomon can usually be your game-winning ticket. Say your opponent thinks that you have no Digimon left, but somehow you still have 1 Tamer. Boom. Lobomon swing for game. Same thing with Chimeramon. Chimeramon is a push to win button. If you have 2 Digimon that already swung, you can actually combine them together into Chimeramon, stand back up, and then check one more time for game. Chimeramon and Lobomon, both of them give you one at least, if you have both, at least 2 more smacks into your opponent as long as you have the Digimon for it. Of course, Chimeramon also has those other abilities, and you have multiple colors in these cards that can combine to make Chimeramon. All those colors that let your opponent have minus 3,000 and all of that stuff. Okay. Next, I run 2 Davises. You don't need a whole lot for this Tamer. You do get to search, look for a blue and a green Digimon. There's no green other than Lightramon, so if you see a Lightramon, you definitely want to pull it as your green card. Everything else will be a blue Digimon or so. So Davis, pretty good for that. Absolutely. Next, Davis and Ken. I run 3 of these guys. Davis and Ken, you gain 1 memory if you have a blue Digimon. You gain 1 memory if you have a green Digimon. You will usually have a blue Digimon and sometimes have a green Digimon like Lightramon on the field. That's additional memory on top of your memory tamer, for example, that you might already have in that situation. Next, I also run 2 Codys. And the reason I run 2 Codys is because if you attack with a 2-color Digimon, you can reduce your opponent's DP by 2,000. And sometimes this DP of these armors is not enough. Sometimes you need to kill something by swinging into it, and sometimes those Digimon are just super strong. And so Cody lets you bring their DP down so that you can smack on top of it. For example, if you have 1 armor in the trash, your Magnamon swinging for 9,000. But you're going to kill something that's 12. If you have 2 Codys, you can double tap them, and now Magnamon can destroy that Digimon that's about to end you. And on top of that, if you have a yellow Digimon, you also gain 1 memory at the start of your turn. So if you have a Magnamon out, that's an even better reason to keep Cody around. Right? Cody is our next card on here. All right, let me make a little space. This deck does run a good number of options. All of them have a purpose, and all of them have been very well thought about. You definitely want to make sure that you have most of these, if not all of them, running in your deck if you want to make Armor Rush thing. So, first, 1 Ice Wall helps stall. Sometimes you need a couple of pieces, but honestly, all of these cards, all the armors, they're smacking into security constantly, right? Constantly. You're just trying to save yourself enough turns to smacking through all of your opponent's security. So Ice Wall is 1 card you want to have. Next, Armor Texture. I run 3 Armor Textures, and if you're not familiar with this card, Armor Texture lets you trash the top card of one of your Digimon that has Armor Form in it, and then you can digivolve one of your Digimon into a Digimon card that you have in hand with Armor Form in it straight. And if you do, without paying the cost, and if you do, you can unsuspend. So this card lets you switch armors essentially and unsuspend for free. So if you had a Flame Dramon that just struck your opponent for 8,000 using its ability, you can, but it survived because it swung for 8,000 and you hit into something that's weaker. You can armor texture, take out that Flame Dramon armor, and go into another one that's in your hand, unsuspend, gain another 3,000, and hopefully survive again. But at that point, you have already unsuspended, and now you've gotten 2 checks into your opponent. Not only that, but you could also have the card that I run 4 of, the Fire Rocket. And the Fire Rocket, if you have an armor form, you can use this card without needing to use the color. So the fact that it's red doesn't really matter. You can use it with any of the armors. And it gains, if you're attacking with a Digimon that's 2 color, which is all of your armors, you gain security check +1. So you could potentially Flame Dramon, do the whole Flame Dramon thing, but +1 check and swing into 4 security cards. Or if you have multiple Fire Rockets, well, you can check as many as you have, right? You could potentially finish the game really quickly if you're feeling ballsy and if you have the DP to swing confidently, then do it. Fire Rocket can end the game very, very quickly. Last but not least, I have a few more. Hammer Spark. Hammer Spark is always useful. If you need another Fire Rocket, you get the Hammer Spark in there. You can use that, no problem. I also have 2 Innocence Blizzard. I think people are not considering this card that much, but I think it's incredibly powerful. Innocence Blizzard, for the cost of 3, you trash the bottom Digivolution card of all of your opponent's Digimon, and then up to 3 of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards can't attack or block until the end of your opponent's next turn. That's potentially game destroying for your opponent. You can trash the bottom Digivolution card across all of your opponent's Digimon, and then 3 of them can't attack if they don't have any sources. That's huge. For 3 cost, that's huge. That's a stun that also strips sources. I love this card. This card should be ran way more often than I think I've been seeing. And last, just in case of emergency, Mega Death, you do need both colors. You need blue and green on the field. So you need to have the Tamer, Davis, and Ken, or Light Dramon. But Mega Death can return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon to its owner's hand after it has suspended a Digimon, which can be pretty useful in a lot of cases. Right, so this is my Armor Rush deck. I hope you guys liked it. I think it's pretty fun, especially the Innocence Blizzard is one that I think a lot of people should be considering more. And I think its use is going to be increasing. If you're not using it, you need to look into it. It's a pretty strong card, especially if you're running blue, which Armor Rush in this situation, the Veeing Rush is doing. All right, thanks so much for watching the video, and if you like this type of video, please give this channel a subscribe. We're almost halfway to 100, and I am excited to keep this channel growing. So thank you very much. See you in the next video.